Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border. Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. As usual on a Sunday morning, we'll recap some of the stakes action, of which there was plenty yesterday. We talked about it in preview yesterday on Racing Across America. Had some nice opinions tossed out. Hopefully you were tuned in then. We will look in review here. Let me just give you a little update on what's coming up this week here at Capital OTB. Bounty Bet returns end of the week. On Friday, it will be focused on Woodbine. It'll be the late pick 5 as usual for the Bounty Bet. Woodbine on Friday, Bounty Bet returns. And this coming Saturday, $100 win-a-bet right here at the Clubhouse Racebook for a little extra fun. We will remind you as the week goes along on those as well. Also want to remind you or alert you if you weren't aware, today at Gulfstream Park, mandatory in the Rainbow Six. Those are always a lot of fun. The pool juices up nicely. Again, that Rainbow, it's a 20-cent increment, so you can put together a decent little ticket for a very reasonable amount of money. So keep that in mind if you'd like to take your shot today. Today, Gulfstream Park, mandatory in the Rainbow Six. All right, Monmouth, big day yesterday. Delaware, big day yesterday. There were a couple of interesting stakes at Churchill. And I'm also going to, towards the end, take a little look at some races down in New York Friday that had a little buzz and some horses that I think are worth watching going forward. But we will start at Monmouth and kind of work our way backwards through their cards. They wound things up yesterday in the Ladies' Secret. It was Haskell Preview Day, so there was a number of really nice stakes races for the various divisions that will lead into stakes on Haskell Day as well. But as I say, we wound up things yesterday at Monmouth in the Ladies' Secret, $100,000 up for grabs for the gals, going 8.5 furlongs. I like Catherine Wheel in a scratch-reduced field of 5. She winds up, at 3-1 is the third choice and winds up third. The favorite was a Colt. I had that one down in the third spot, a Chad Brown runner, so no surprise that the one horse, a Colt, was the favorite. Horse I had in between those two, number 7, Majestic Oops, gets it done pretty easily. The chart margin here is over 4 lengths. Majestic Oops is a 5-year-old with 20, before yesterday, 28 starts and 6 wins. So now 29 starts, 7 wins, 10 seconds, 3/3. And with the purse yesterday, approaching $500,000 in earnings. So a nice little runner. Calbred, Majestic Oops, who took the stakes race yesterday, in a scratch-reduced field, but a nice field, a field of, bona fide stakes performers, maybe at the second level in that division, but it was a nice bunch in there, and Majestic Oops, as I say, did pretty convincingly with the 4+ length win. Just prior to that, it was the Eatontown on the grass. This one, I whiffed here, did not use the winner at all. I liked 5 Towns. 5 Towns, the second choice at 2-1, will wind up running 4th in here. Maggie Go I had in the third spot. That one winds up running 2nd, but the winner is number 7, Whiskey Decision. I should have known. Chad Brown. and Sammy Camacho on board. Fairly new to the Chad Brown barn, at least for this season. This was the seasonal debut, but a Chad Brown horse gets away at 4-1, $10 flat there for Whiskey's Decision getting it done. But that one at 4-1, the favorite, as they say, Maggie Go at 6-5, was also a Chad Brown runner. So the Chad Zacta, as it were, wound up paying just under $35. So again, you boxed up the Chad horses in the 5-horse field. Not bad, $35. How many times have we seen that play out where you're sitting back going, I could have played the Chad horses and wound up with a $35 Exacta in there, a $10 winner going for the longer Chad gets it done, which was the big theme last summer up at Saratoga, certainly. So the Eatontown, a little bit interesting from that respect. Salvatore Mile, older horses, that division that is going to play out and be some fun this year, I think. I don't know whether these were the heavy hitters, but there were, 3 in here, I think, that have shown flashes, certainly. And I think the winner was sitting on the potential to maybe move into the conversation in this division a little bit. The winner is going to be number 9, Bishop's Bay. I liked Bishop's Bay off the 102 Beyer win in the Westchester last time. With the 102, that was a lifetime best. I haven't seen numbers yet. Try to pull them up and see if they, but I didn't see anybody have put them out yet this morning. But Bishop's Bay does back up that nice win with a 5-length victory yesterday. It's the 30 cent to $1 favorite. Nelson Avenue third, Surface to Air. Nelson Avenue second, Surface to Air third. I said there was like 2 or 3 in here that stood a chance of, had shown some flashes and stood a chance of, stepping into more of a conversation in this division. The other 2, besides Bishop Bay, who did fulfill the quest there, the other ones I thought were interesting were Trademark and Tuscan Sky. In the field of 6, they wound up 5th and 6th. So they did not. And they are horses, Tuscan Sky, a Todd Pletcher trainee, that had a little potential early. You go back to last year as a 3-year-old, what a nice optional claimer, and then stepped into the wood and didn't show much there. Came out of that and ran in the Pegasus on this card at Monmouth last year and won that pretty nicely and hasn't had a win since. And some of the performances were less than stellar. So that one from Pletcher and Rapoli, again, put in kind of a clunker yesterday. And Trademark for Vicky Oliver, another one that you go down the resume. And this one 2 years back, November of 23, won the Clark. But since then doesn't have a win. And yesterday was a little bit disappointing. So we had one that kind of steps into the conversation on the handicap side, Bishop's Bay, with now a couple of nice victories. And so far this year in 2024, 5 starts and 4 wins. This was the 3rd straight stakes victory. So Bishop's Bay steps into the conversation. Trademark and Tuscan Sky still on the outside looking in after, again, points in their career where you thought, these could be nice horses, but it hasn't quite worked out that way in the most recent starts. A little bit earlier on the card, the Monmouth, again, on the grass here. And as I say, it was a mixed bag for me yesterday. I was in handicapping yesterday, did Belmont at Aqueduct, did Monmouth. I had taken a look in the morning at the Delaware Stakes, and it was a mixed bag there as well. And I'll get to that in a few. But this one I had, I don't know whether there are no bragging rights, however, though, because I had it and everybody else in humanity had it as well. It's going to be in the Eatontown number 3 redistricting for Chad Brown and Klarovich. Goes off at the 30 cent to $1 favorite, pays $260. The chart margin here will be 5 lengths, so a pretty easy winner. Running second, Otago, a horse I had kind of down at the bottom of my mix, and then running third is At Last coming in from Europe for Graham Motion, but it was, as I say, a clear victory for redistricting. Flavian Pratt on board, and as I say, 30 cents to the dollar. So a short price, but pretty clear victory. And being a Chad Brown runner, wouldn't be surprised to see this one up at Saratoga. Relatively lightly raced 5-year-old. That was only the 9th career start, 3rd win, a couple of seconds as well. Was coming out of a 6th place finish in the Turf Classic down at Churchill on Derby weekend, but with a pretty solid number and improved a lifetime best, in fact. So maybe as a 5-year-old, this horse is kind of finding himself. And again, we'll see the potential. I think, being a Chad Brown Klarovich runner, potential is clearly there for this one to show up at some point at Saratoga. And finally at Monmouth yesterday, again, it was Haskell Preview Day, and the direct Haskell Preview, the Pegasus, for the 3-year-olds. 8.5 furlongs the trip. I went with Garamond. Betting public was also there at 3 to 5. It was a Chad Brown Juddmont runner coming off a nice win down at Aqueduct back in April. But Garamond got off to a bad start, goes off as the 3 to 5 favorite, and just never gets into it. Flavian Pratt was on board, and Garamond, the number 3 horse, is in the back of the pack, winds up running last. But a horse I thought was interesting, mentioned yesterday, Vicky Oliver. You always have to pay attention. Bracket Buster, yikes. Bracket Buster as the 3rd choice at 7 to 2, romps by 7 lengths in here. Again, Vicky Oliver, always interesting. You always have to pay attention to her runners. Goes out for that BBN Racing that she trained some horses for and has had some clever horses, certainly over the years. In fact, I think Trademark was Vicky Oliver and BBN. Again, the horse that didn't run quite as well in the Salvatore Mile. But Bracket Buster does, you guess, punches his ticket to the Haskell. We'll see if that's the decision, but I would think off of that seemed to show a certain affinity for the Monmouth Strip. Had been racing most of the career down in Kentucky, Churchill and Keeneland. This was the 3rd start of the season for Bracket Buster. Started things out in the Lexington and ran 2nd to Gosker, and then followed up in an optional claimer on a sloppy track at Churchill. Was up in the mix before fading in the last start, but now comes back in the 3rd start of the season. Again, on another sloppy track, but seemed to appreciate this one. Kind of runs away and hides from that bunch. So we'll have to keep our eyes on Bracket Buster. Running 2nd was Wild and Crazy Night. And 3rd, Valentinian. Valentinian was a Todd Pletcher runner, a lightly raced Pletcher runner who I thought had the potential to be a little bit interesting. He just gets 3rd by that much and is, almost 10 lengths behind the winner. So we'll see what the game plan is going forward for Valentinian. Again, it's a Pletcher, Stone Street and Company horse that has shown some ability. And this was the stakes debut, so only the 4th career start. Might have a little bit of a future, but was well beaten yesterday. So we'll see what that future holds. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the stakes action yesterday from Delaware. The inaugural running of the Delaware Derby. Also, Delaware Oaks on the card and more yesterday. We'll check that out when we come back, so stay tuned.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Don't forget, we'll be back a little bit later on for Sunday afternoon OTB Live. Again, I'm looking at some Belmont at Aqueduct and some Churchill today, but we have more in the mix for you to enjoy, so tune back in. And don't forget that mandatory In the Rainbow at Gulfstream today. If you enjoy that play, and again, at 20 cents, you can get in and put together a nice little ticket. All right, yesterday at Delaware, again, it was Delaware Derby Day, which is brand new, but they've been running the Delaware Oaks for quite a while. So 3-year-old boys, 3-year-old girls, and we'll kick things off and kind of work our way backwards from the girls in the Delaware Oaks Grade 3 event, $300,000 up for grabs. I like Cassier in here, the Shug trainee, only the 4th start of the career, a couple of wins, bookended a 3rd. And I said yesterday in Racing Across America, the loss was the only try at 2 turns. So there was clearly a 2-turn question mark. But the loss was only the 2nd start of the career. That they went from the maiden breaker in the debut into the Gulfstream Park Oaks. So it was a heavy lift. I was willing to give this one another shot going 2 turns. And Cassier, the number 6 horse, it looms on the turn. And I thought, it might be in a good spot here. But Cassier eventually fades and winds up running 6th in the field. Number 7, you can see out there running very well and did it on the front end all the way around fondly. Irad Ortiz on board for Graham Motion. Like my pick, had only 3 starts so far. Had kind of clunked in the Kentucky Oaks against Good Cheer and company. But the 2 starts before that were 2 wins, including the Virginia Oaks. So this was a horse that had shown some ability, just maybe a little bit overmatched in only the 3rd start. And Graham said after the race, probably that was a little ambitious, but we had the points to get in. It's tough not to. And so they went to the Kentucky Oaks. They got into a little more of a suitable field here today, talent-wise, and also they had a little more experience under the belt. So Fondley's going to be a little 3-year-old filly to watch going forward. And a division that's kind of shaping up now to be fun with the win, the loss by Good Cheer, the win by Licara last week up in Saratoga. We'll talk about Immersive in a little bit. Nitrogen winning on the dirt for Mark Cassie. Fondly looking good yesterday. This could be interesting. Being a Graham Motion runner, you would think potentially they're up at Saratoga trying to knock heads in a division that, again, now is a little bit interesting. I think there's some talent there. And Fondly throws her hat into the ring. Running second was Margie's Intention, who I liked in the Black Eyed Susan, won that race, and she ran perfectly well yesterday. The chart margin from the winner to second was 3, but Margie's Intention was about a length ahead of Kinsey Queen, with Paris Lily running 4th. Those 3, Margie's Intention, Kinsey Queen, and Paris Lily, were the 1, 2, 3 finishers in the Black Eyed Susan. It was Margie's Intention first, Paris Lily, and then Kinsey Queen. So the bottom 2 switched up a little bit, but they ran well again. But I think given that they were 1, 2, 3 in the Black Eyed Susan, flatters Fondly that she ran, so well and was 3 lengths ahead at the end. Margie's Intention, again, I think another interesting player in this 3-year-old division with the Black Eyed Susan victory. This is a Louisiana bred, and the first 5 starts of the career were all against Louisiana breds. Had been running for Brendan Walsh, now in the Brad Cox barn. And again, the win in the Black Eyed Susan, a decent little second there in the Delaware Oaks, and being a Brad Cox trainee, I wouldn't be shocked to see this one try, 3-year-old filly company up in Saratoga. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I think all 3 of those, but particularly for me, the top 2 are a little bit interesting. And I'm intrigued to see what they do with Cassier, the horse I like. Is it going to be a distance thing with her? Because, again, I thought she kind of loomed up on the turn and then faded a little bit. started the career winning at 6.5 at Tampa, then did the 1-turn mile at Belmont at Aqueduct. After that, Gulfstream Park, Oaks third. So the 2 1-turn races were 2 nice wins. We'll see what Cassiar does going forward out of this one, but it seems like she definitely has a little bit of potential to kind of hang our hat on for her. And I am looking for my Delaware Derby PPs. They don't seem to be in the proper order here. Let me just double check, and if not, I'll do it after the break. I'll find them and do it. Oh, they're right here. I pulled them out already. All right, there we go. So again, the Delaware Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies, the Delaware Derby for the 3-year-old boys, and the Delaware Derby was a first-time running kind of event, and I had here, it was a handle record yesterday with the Delaware Derby, the brand new Delaware Derby, and a pretty substantial record. $6.5 million in handle at Delaware Park yesterday. That beat their previous record, which was $4.9 million. That's a significant jump. That was established on Delaware Handicap Day back in 2007. So it'd been a while. They had $4.9 million that day, $6.5 million yesterday. I also didn't mention fondly the Graham Motion winner of the Delaware Oaks, Irad Ortiz, on board. He had a nice day, 3 wins, including a stake earlier on the card as well. But it was a really nice day for Delaware, certainly. Deservedly so. Nice little card, fun card. Part of that was the first running of the Delaware Derby. I liked Admiral Dennis. Admiral Dennis, the Brad Cox runner, just seemed to maybe outclass this bunch. In the most recent start, had tried the Bluegrass, ran 4th behind Burnham Square and East Avenue, River Thames. Those are, some of the harder hitters in the division. This was a little bit easier company. And Brad Cox's assistant after the race said, they thought this would be a spot that would offer a little bit of class relief. It certainly did. They came out of this saying, we'll shoot for some probably some of the second level derbies, things like Iowa Derby and West Virginia Derby and whatnot. But Admiral Dennis does get it done with that class relief. Chart margin winds up a little over 3 lengths as the second choice at 2-1. Favorite was Kentucky Outlaw, the 6 at 9-5, runs third. In between those two, Barbadian Runner coming out of a win in the Jersey Derby at Monmouth back at the end of May. So that's a kind of an interesting little runner, Barbadian Runner, that I would think they'll pick their spots for this one and make some money. That one, again, talking about the place horse, Barbadian Runner, going out for trainer Henry Walters, that I'm not super familiar with. Forrest Boyce was on board. Second place finish puts this one with a record now of 14 starts, 4 wins, 3 seconds, 4 thirds. Over $300,000 for the Maryland bred. And again, one that you would think they have a runner where I think they can pick. I don't see this one headed for the Travers or the Haskell necessarily, but I can see them picking their spots and having some fun with Barbadian Runner. But certainly Admiral Dennis. And again, the Cox assistant in the article that recapped the race said they'll probably shop around for some of those second level derbies now for this one. And I think they're going to have potentially a lot of fun doing that as well. Kentucky Outlaw, Frank Vespi yesterday thought that one was a little bit interesting, as did Ellis Star. That horse runs third. Wound up to be the favorite, which was a little surprising. 6-1 on the morning line, but took the action off a win in the Long Branch at Monmouth back earlier in May. And as I say, winds up third in there. But Admiral Dennis, again, just kind of outclassed them yesterday in there, winning fairly easily. But again, as the second choice, you got a little bit of value there at $6.40. Also on the card yesterday at Delaware, the Cape Henlopen, which, again, talking with Frank Vespi yesterday about these stakes races, I said, I find this one really competitive. And I thought Vote No was interesting coming out of a win at Horseshoe Indy. And I thought that, would we get the 15-1? I don't know. But I thought, the Horseshoe Indy victory might get ignored a little bit, and we'd get some value. Well, the betting public voted no on that thought, as Vote No does get it done at 2-1 from a 15-1 morning line. So again, I like this horse. It was my top pick in there. Dripping Gold for a West Point I had underneath, and at 7-2 winds up fourth. So it's Vote No, number 6 Harrow second, starting over. The number 8 runs third in here. But with a nice late run, Vote No does get it done, puts a couple together, comes out of that race at Horseshoe Indy, a victory, and then wins the Cape Henlopen yesterday under Paco Lopez, who had a very good day yesterday as well. But as I say, and the race just that I get to next, I'll talk a little bit about it as well, because Frank Vespi had that winner, and I texted him right after. It was a good call. He got a little more value on his winner than I did. And he texted me after this race and said, well, there was a nice call for you on that race. And I said, yeah, but I would have liked the 15-1 a lot more. And again, I'm not surprised the horse took some action off a win, but I thought the Horseshoe Indy victory might get just ignored a little bit. And there were other options in here that were interesting. But win is a win, and Vote No gets it done at $6.40. Kelsey Danner. And again, Paco Lopez, who, as I say, had a nice day yesterday. Just before that, and again, this was the nice call by Frank Vespi. It was the Obeya. The Obeya typically, in years past, I said this yesterday, has been a prep race for the Del Cap. But this year, they moved the Del Cap to September. And a card that will, this year in September, have some races, including the Delaware Handicap, that have played into Saratoga races. But the Kent will be on that undercard in September. That was a nice little turf race that usually would produce a couple of runners who would come up to Saratoga. But so the Obeya now not a prep for the Del Cap, but it still may play into Saratoga a little bit because the Shoe V comes up on July 18th, and I could see the potential for runners, coming out of this looking for that. But Frank liked Malibu Beauty yesterday at a price 15-1 on the morning line with Paco Lopez on board. Didn't get to 15-1, but he got 10-1, and he also got a nice front end win from Malibu Beauty. Gunsong will run second. Gunsong is a horse who has clearly shown some talent throughout the career, including a win in the Black Eyed Susan last year, and in the Cotillion was a close-up second last year to Torpedo Anna. So Gunsong's legit and runs second in here. But again, on the front end, all the way around behind Paco Lopez, who, as I say, had a nice day. Paco had 4 wins yesterday, including the stakes we've looked at. But Malibu Beauty gets it done. Gary Capuano training, now runs the record to a nice 44 starts. This is a 7-year-old mare, 44 starts, 14 wins, 10 seconds, and 6 thirds. And with yesterday's purse, goes over or approaches, goes over $900,000. So approaching millionaire status for Malibu Beauty. And again, the Shoe V sits out there potentially waiting for that one. Gunsong as well. Wouldn't be shocked to see Gunsong being a Mark Hennig trainee up at Saratoga in this division in a month or so. Finally, we started the day out at Delaware yesterday with the Alapacas Run, $100,000 for 3-year-olds and up, going 6. And kind of a familiar name to us. This is a horse based in New York from Michelle Nevin. Irad Ortiz on board. Full Moon Madness gets it done as the 9-5 favorite in here. Runs by them all late and just get Full Moon Madness number 4. You can see that number 4 saddlecloth coming. Will get up by a neck over Bucciarino. Damon's Mound, another familiar name, runs 3rd in here. But again, nice victory for Full Moon Madness. As they say, a New York-based horse comes down for a little $100,000 stakes try and scores. This is a stakes winner earlier in the career. And as I say, familiar name. This horse won the Tom Fool at Aqueduct back in March. Fifth win in 15 career starts. You got to like that. If horses win a third of their starts, that's a nice runner. You get some of these horses that get up towards a half of their starts. They're really proficient. But this one, again, 5 out of 15, nice 33% win rate, including some stakes action. So, but a nice runner. Again, a New York-based runner. Full Moon Madness gets it done to kick off the stakes action. Mid-card yesterday down at Delaware. Again, a nice card. Both venues, Delaware and Monmouth. You had some turf racing. Weather was kind of being a little bit funky as it has been through the first portion of this year all over, but that continued yesterday. As I understand it, they're off the turf today at Belmont at Aqueduct as well. I saw an Andy Serling tweet earlier. We'll verify that as we get later in the day and come in for OTB Live, but keep that in mind. We'll take a break. We'll come back. There was a couple of interesting stakes yesterday as well at Churchill, but also there were 3 races going back to Friday in New York that are worth taking a look at. Some runners will come out of those races that will certainly attract some attention going forward. They attracted plenty of buzz on Friday, so we'll look at those as well. All of that when Racing Across America continues, so of course, stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards Program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer. Wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at CapitalOTB.com. Welcome back. As I said, there were a couple of interesting stakes yesterday at Churchill. Little overnight stake was interesting, the Monomoy Girl, because it was the return of Immersive, 2-year-old filly champion, 4 for 4 last year, broke the maiden up at Saratoga, followed up with a win in the Spinaway, then goes down to Keeneland, wins the Alcibiades, follows that up with a win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. Then there was a little bone bruising, from what I understand, that sent this horse to the sidelines, leading to this belated 3-year-old debut. So lots of anticipation yesterday for Immersive. I will say we scratched down to a 4-horse field, and somehow amazingly you get these short fields. Trouble trip. This was not a particularly clean trip for Immersive, and you would have to think it didn't help, but the Immersive there and the Godolphin Blue on the inside kind of, again, escapes from behind a wall and then got a little bumped at the top of the stretch. And Take Charge My Lady is the challenger here, and they ding-dong it. Take Charge My Lady for Ken McPeak is a nice horse, though. So, again, with the trouble trip and time off, Immersive ran very well. But it was a little bit of a disappointment at 41 cents to the dollar. On the other hand, at 4 to 1, Take Charge Lady offered some value for folks who went in another direction. beyond the big favorite off the layoff. So both of these are now interesting horses. Take Charge, My Lady, won the Martha Washington down at Oaklawn earlier this year. And according to the follow-up article yesterday, subsequent to the Martha Washington, does not run at all well in the Honeybee. Second in the Ashland behind Lacara. We know how good Lacara is from last week. And then winds up a well-beaten 12th in the Kentucky Oaks. So a mixed bag after the Martha Washington for Take Charge, My Lady. But according to the follow-up article yesterday, she had some excuses. Take Charge, My Lady in the Honeybee had loose teeth caps, according to the article, that were bothering her. I didn't even know that was a thing, but according to the article, that was there. Then scratched from the Fantasy due to a quarter crack and was kind of still dealing with some foot issues when she headed to the Kentucky Oaks. So there were some issues and excuses maybe, but to come back and then put on that battle with Immersive and do as well as she did, Take Charge, My Lady again. And Immersive in the first start of the season, throw their hat in the ring in this 3-year-old filly division that I mentioned earlier. I think is shaping up to be interesting and competitive as we head into the summer, and we'll see how it plays out. And of course, we have Coaching Club American Oaks in Alabama up at Saratoga. There are other 3-year-old filly races around the country as well, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And yesterday's performance by those two will play into that as well. So Immersive runs second, but again, with in a 4-horse field with a little bit of a trouble trip and off a layoff, you would think she will benefit from that. Also on the card yesterday, the Chorleywood on the grass, mile and 3/8 down at Churchill. And here's one that I, again, wouldn't be surprised to see this one up at Saratoga. Ran in the Bernard Baruch and an allowance race up at Saratoga, and it's a Cherie DeVoe runner. This is a good-looking late run and a nice win in the Chorleywood. It's number 4, Rebel Red, getting it done. Again, it is Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz, the number 4 horse. You can see the chiclet, and you can see on the outside there is the 4 horse. And goes by and then just kind of opens up. The chart margin is going to wind up to be a couple of lengths. And as I say, we've already seen this one up at Saratoga. And as it is a Cherie DeVoe runner, I would think seeing it up at Saratoga this year is not out of the question. Highway Robber, the number 8, runs second as the 2-to-1 choice. 15-to-1 on the morning line. And Ellis Starr yesterday, we had him on, and he liked Highway Robber, and we were talking about the price and feeling so the 15-to-1 turns into 2-to-1 favoritism. Runs an okay second, but again, that was a good-looking performance for Rebel Red. Verstappen runs third in here, but as I say, I will not be shocked at all to see Rebel Red come up. Had come out of a troubled start, clipped heels and fell in a stake middle of last month down at Churchill. So that was a nice rebound effort as well. And Rebel Red, kind of impressive down at Churchill in the Chorleywood. All right, let me go back to Friday. And again, some performances that grabbed a little buzz in New York on Friday and will be horses people will be looking forward to going forward. The opener on Friday down at Belmont at the Big A was optional claimer, non-winners of 2 other than 9 furlongs on the grass. Chad Brown had Rhiannon in here. I like that one. I put that one on top, being lightly raced. Chad Brown runner coming out of a season ender last year that was pretty good in November. Chad can have him ready off the layoff. Scratched down to a field of 5 in here. And I'm just looking. I say it's scratched down. It actually was a field of 5, given that the 1 and the 1A were actually MTOs. So field of 5, and Rhiannon wound up the second choice at 3-2. Greyash was the favorite, another Chad Brown runner. But Rhiannon under Irad Ortiz, in only the 5th career start, looks pretty good. Again, had been off since November. So this is now the 5-year-old debut. So this is a very lightly raced 5-year-old with only 4 starts so far and a couple of wins prior to Friday. But the comeback, geez, this is a nice looking effort. 4 lengths is the margin in here. Under a field, again, it was only a small field, but it was a nice field. It was a field of horses with stakes experience. And so to make this your comeback effort and do it, so easily, Rhiannon going to be interesting to watch going forward. Again, as a 5-year-old mare, we'll see where she winds up. And again, Chad Brown horse, you would think Saratoga is potential for the next start. And after the buzz on Friday, people will be looking forward to that, as they will be looking forward to Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, he of the 114 buyer that kind of said earlier in the career, we'll be paying a lot of attention to this one. I pulled up the chart to that 114 buyer race at Saratoga back in 2021. He beat Olympiad that day, and he had the 114 buyer, and we thought, oh, Baby Yoda is going to be something. And then never quite lived up to that. But subsequently has had a pretty good career. It's hard to deny. The win on Friday was start number 30 and win number 10. And as I said earlier, you win a third of your starts, you're doing pretty well. Hasn't quite lived up to that 114 buyer, certainly, but is approaching millionaire status, having gone over $900,000 with the win on Friday. But this was the seasonal debut we're going to take a look at. Baby Yoda is going to be the number 6 horse. Flavian Prat on board. You can see was on the front end all the way around and was the 2-1 favorite. And gets it done by a chart margin of over 4 lengths in track record time, 6.5 furlongs in 113.86. And looking at a Dave Grenig article, beat the record set by Coronado's Quest as a 2-year-old back in 1997. 114.35 was the previous record. Friday, 113.86. So again, track record performance. And I was very curious to see, well, are we going to get something close to that 114? Not really. It was a triple digit, but it was a 101 for Baby Yoda. And Andy Sterling tweeted out, oh, they knew. And they knew to me is a little more like 6-5 or 4-5 on a horse that airs. This one was kind of a lukewarmish 2-1. So they were right. He was the favorite. I'm not sure it was a they knew necessarily, but Baby Yoda ran very well in here. 4-1 morning line, did take action. And again, the Belmont runner, and we've seen this one up at Saratoga plenty. Last year was in the Vanderbilt and the Forego. I would expect we'll see it Saratoga again, and off a track record performance like that, going to be interested to see Baby Yoda up at Saratoga again, where he had set that 114 buyer and subsequently never approached that again, but got the triple digit on Friday, and we'll see what's up next for Baby Yoda. But again, the track record performance as Baby Yoda continues to not maybe live up to what we expected that with that 114, but if you then just get realistic, very good career. Again, approaching millionaire status, 10 wins and 30 starts. So it's been all right. And finally, I wanted to show this one, and we're going to show it right from the start. And I had this horse on top, a lightly raced runner from Miguel Clement, who was just, on a really nice start to his training career since his father passed away a couple of weeks ago. A sad note there, but the Saratoga win early in the meet, and then the Grade 1 win, the last race, puts the exclamation point on Saratoga. And so Miguel's doing okay. This one, finale on Friday, back check. Couple of starts coming into this race. Last year, had a debut effort that wasn't much. This year, had a seasonal debut that wasn't much, but was moving from maiden special weight to maiden claiming, second start of the season. So again, I like back check at 4-1, and we'll see him here. The number 6 horse. Watch the horse coming out of the gate. Whoa! So like I say, I had the horse on top, and I'm kind of, okay. It was a decent Friday up until that point. I was playing a little online contest, and I needed this one not to be a winner, but if I could move up the ladder a little bit, I got the entry fee refunded. So at this point, I'm kind of, all of that is out the window. But you can see he catches up to the field here. You can see the number 6 Chicklet after just a horrible start. The chart call is off very slow, and that is putting it mildly. And even here with the slow start, because the slow start and to get up into the pack like this, how much energy do you have to use? And now he's traveling well, but I'm still thinking you're that far back. It's just to get up into the mix like this, probably has had to use a little too much she. I think I said he before, but it's a filly. But again, you're seeing the number 6 horse right there on the rail under Manny Franco, kind of sitting in a good spot, but still I have zero confidence, but cuts the corner here. And now I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Manny then tips out, and this is incredible. After that start, and I'm feeling like the 2's got me, and the 2 doesn't have me. So after that start, this is just an incredible performance. And I will say, Rhiannon earlier on the card got a little buzz, and Baby Yoda clearly got a little buzz. But I thought this performance was kind of overlooked, and now I'm interested to see this one. I would expect up at Saratoga as well, being a Miguel Clement runner. That was only and I did not see, I have the chart right here so I can look. I was going to say I did not see if the horse got claimed. It did not get claimed. So I'll be interested to see. I would think off of this, we won't see it in the claiming ranks again, I would think. But I'm very intrigued to see if this horse can put a couple together. A lot of times a big performance like that more exposes the others, and that may be the case. It won't be proven until this horse comes back, I would think, and we see if the runner can put a couple together. But as I say, I think back check with kind of an eye-popping performance got a little bit overlooked with, again, 2 other nice performances on the card Friday, Belmont at Aqueduct. But tuck that one in your back pocket a little bit. All right, I did pull up the NTRA thoroughbred polls that came out earlier this week. And I think the 3-year-old poll, I think this is the last one. Typically, the NTRA 3-year-old poll goes through the Triple Crown season. We'll see. But this may be the last one of those. And then the overall thoroughbred poll goes all year long. But the 3-year-old poll, no surprise. I think the top 3 established themselves through the Triple Crown with their performances. And the top 3, I think, pretty much in everybody's mind and on the poll. Sovereignty, number 1, got all of the first place votes, all 30 of the first place votes. He was second last week behind Journalism. Given the Belmont Stakes results, boom, they flip-flop. Sovereignty on top, Journalism second. And third, Baeza coming out of his performances in the Triple Crown. Then it was interesting to see how they parsed out that kind of next group. And Sandman winds up 4th, moving up from 5 last week. Rodriguez at 5th, Gosker at 6th. East Avenue, with the win last weekend in the Matt Win down at Churchill, moves up from 22nd last week and the previous week to number 7 this time. Good Cheer, the 3-year-old filly, boosts from number 4 to number 8 off the loss up here. Nitrogen moves from 13 to 9 with the win on the dirt. And it's going to be very interesting to see what Mark Cassie decides to do, because I think he feels like he has 2 horses that potentially have a shot for a 3-year-old filly championship in Licara and Nitrogen. But it sounds like Nitrogen next out will go turf, and then they may kind of figure it out. So she's going to be interesting to watch And then in the 10th spot, it is Burnham Square. So again, to me, it's kind of the top three. And then beyond that, the names that are there amongst the boys, the 3-year-old boys, are all perfectly logical. And I think you could kind of juggle them up a little bit in various ways. But I have no argument with the order they are here. Certainly, again, the top three, Sovereignty, Journalism, and Baeza, have solidified their spots, through the first half of the year anyway, to where they are on the poll that came out this past Monday. And the overall thoroughbred poll, this is kind of interesting. Moving from number 20 last week to number 1 on your hit parade, the NTRA overall thoroughbred poll, Raging Torrent, off the big win up at Saratoga last year. That's a pretty good leap from 20 to number 1, but it was a pretty good looking performance. Fierceness goes from number 1 to number 2. Mindframe sticks at number 3. Sovereignty, who last week was number 16 on the overall poll, goes up to number 4. Sovereignty is kind of interesting here, had the most first place votes, not the most points, obviously, being 4th, but the most first place votes amongst the poll voters. So that was intriguing. 5th spot overall poll, Hit Show. 6th spot, Torpedo Anna, and it's going to be interesting to see Torpedo Anna in her next start, given what we saw last time. And Kenny McPeak is looking at Churchill for Torpedo Anna and Mystic Dan over the next few weeks in the big stakes action they have coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see how she rebounds. White Barrio in number 7, Copian number 8, moving up from 15 to number 9. Off a second place finish, it was Journalism, and Locke moves down a little bit, went from 6th last week to 10th. Interesting, sitting in 11th is, 11 and 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, all kind of interesting. Number 11, She Feels Pretty. Again, last weekend up at Saratoga, Belmont at Saratoga, certainly played into the voters' opinion. She Feels Pretty looked good. Deterministic, obviously, looking good, sits at number 12. Sierra Leone at number 13, and Ways and Means, another good-looking performance from last week, is at 14. So kind of interesting, both of the polls. And as I say, I think this is the last 3-year-old poll. That's the way it's been in previous years anyway, the last third poll of the season. And I'm just quickly see if I can come up here and verify the track condition down in New York. And of course, my computer is slowing up, but I will let it catch up. And I will once again, I've done it already a couple of times, but I think a lot of people are interested in the rainbows, and particularly when they have the mandatories, and it is a mandatory today down at Gulfstream, so keep that in mind. Mandatory pay in the Rainbow Six. I continue to say it at 20 cents. You can put together a nice kind of whale-sized ticket for a fairly reasonable amount of money. And yeah, they're off the turf today down in New York. Off the turf 5, 6, 8, and 9. So keep that in mind for today. And scratches are out down in New York. Main track's listed at this point as muddy. As I say, the first half of the year has been kind of a struggle across the country weather-wise. Everybody got hit this year at some point, it seems like. I have been saying to people, weather seems to moderate. You go over a long enough period of time, the averages seem to play out. So I'm hoping that wet and cool spring leads into dry and warm summer up here at Saratoga. We'll keep our fingers crossed in that direction anyway. All right, keeping our fingers crossed for a fun afternoon here on OTB Live. Certainly you're invited to come back in probably about an hour and a half or so. We'll kick things off. Again, I'll look at some Belmont at Aqueduct, Churchill, but we have more good action in the mix as well here on OTB TV and via Capital OTB Bet. So keep all of that in mind and plan to tune back in for the action this afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. I appreciate your tuning in this morning. Racing Across America for Sunday morning. We'll wrap it up. And again, back shortly, an hour and a half or so for OTB Live on a Sunday afternoon. See you then.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.